Welcome back to the Top 6 show. The transfer window is heating up massively. A new bid for Frankie de Jong is expected. The Ligt linked to Chelsea fans in 50-50s about that one. Joao Felix to Manchester City. They are looking to do a madness if these reports are to be believed. We're going to be looking because of all those transfers. Should Manchester United look to move on from de Jong if this second bid is, of course, rejected? We're going to be taking a look at some of the other deals that have been circling for the last few days. Martinez, Raphinha with Spurs and Arsenal going head-to-head. We've got an Arsenal-Tottenham debate later on as well for you. Who is going to have the better season next year? Thomas Partey or Yves Bissouma? So make sure you stay with us. Any questions that you've got, make sure you get them in. Brilliant panel on the show tonight. I want to introduce my first, making her debut tonight, Manchester United fan. Mina is here from Gold Diggers. How are you?
I'm good, Terry. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm absolutely well. It's an absolute pleasure to have another one of the Gold Diggers on the football terrace. It really is. And we're joined again by some regulars, two Gooners in the house tonight. Gooners have got chest at the moment after all this transfer business they're doing. Of course, Jessica Black is here, joined by a football terrace enigma in Egal. How are you both?
I don't even know what that word means, but I'll take it.
Enigma is a positive word, I would say. If Freddie Mercury was an enigma, do you know what I mean? Michael Jackson was an enigma. Like, depends if you view those as positive, but I would. They're kind of, I would. David's here. Like most, you're looking pretty depressed, David. You all right, mate?
I'm fine. I'm great.
Good. And we've got man like Patrick here today. You looking forward to the Arsenal debate later?
Yeah, of course. I'm ready to cook some gooners as per usual. So let's go. Let's do this. Let's do this.
All I heard was sirens, and then Jess jumped on. I don't know what's happening in LA.
That's the ambulance coming to pick Partey up because he's injured again.
And that will be a fun debate a little bit later. She's back now with us, so we'll
Sorry.
right? And not a problem at all. So a big show. One of the first things I wanted to start by talking about, because I want to sort of get it out of the way and get Mina's take on this. Man United are looking at a second bid now, a second official bid for Frankie de Jong. It's said to be around about 65 million euros in entirety, 10 million euros below what Barcelona are asking for. There's all manner of reports that Barca are driving the price up because of this 3-1 situation. The question is, and I'll go to Mina first on this, do you think this bid will be accepted? And secondly, when should Man United look to move on to a different player?
That's a good point. I don't think the bid's going to get accepted. I think Barcelona is in dire need of the money, and they know that United really want de Jong. I remember seeing a report tomorrow, Glazers are paying out 11 million in dividends. I don't see why they just don't take that money and just slap it on top of the 65 million that they're offering for de Jong. I don't want to see another Sancho saga happening where we were chasing him for a whole summer, then ended up getting him the following summer. Something similar happened with Bruno Fernandes, where we were chasing him a whole summer and ended up getting him in the January window. So I think that United should stop clinging on to their pennies and just kind of get the deal over the line. We're starting pre-season in 3 days. It would have been ideal to have at least one new midfield signing, considering how many of our midfielders have left, especially for Erik ten Hag to I think he's going after de Jong because that's someone he's putting his trust in to kind of push the idea that he's trying to get at Manchester United and at Old Trafford. And I think that we definitely, I wish United just kind of get it over the line. I think they're going to keep going back, maybe adding 3 million, 5 million every time. Probably by the fourth offer, it might get accepted. And that's that's wishful thinking at this point, you know?
Listen, as a United fan, I get it. I think Frankie de Jong's a sensational player. There was a report that came out today that said Frankie de Jong doesn't want to join Man United. And it was like, where's this? It's like we've gone back 4 weeks where most are kind of suggesting that he's happy to. I'm just at this point where the only thing that gives me some hope is Sam from the United People's put out a kind of breakdown today that some of this new money from selling their TV rights is expected to kind of balance their books by the end of June. And from the end of June, they're able to invest all money through the sale of players into buying new people. Up until that point, if they accepted the bid today from Man United, they would only be able to reinvest 1/3 of that money into new players. So again, that's kind of what I'm reading. That's what people are. But then you're at a point where, as a United fan, where you're thinking, are we clutching at straws here? Are we trying to become accountants to try and justify this? And I want de Jong. Of course, it's what Erik ten Hag wants. But you just sit there, and your point, I think, stands out. that dividends being taken by the Glazers is quite literally the difference in asking price. Just put that money in, stop taking it out. You don't need it, you're billionaires. Keep it in the football club, buy the player the manager wants, and have him here as early as possible in pre-season. Like, rivals, what do you all think of this? Do you feel like Man United should, I mean, first of all, do you think this bid will be accepted this week? And if not, do you think Man United should move on to different players or keep fighting for their number one target? What are we saying?
Yeah, I'll go. I think it's so early to say that you pull out of such a big or quality player. Like, we still got so long left of the window. So to walk away now would be crazy. If he's your number one target, by all means, you go all out to get him. I don't think the bid will be accepted. That'll be too easy. But just put the money up, man. Put what they're asking for. Get it done. Get it wrapped up, and get him in, like Mina's saying, so you can start your pre-season with a valued asset. That's what I would say, really.
I would say calm down. The window's not over. It's not even close to being over. Like, it's this happens every single year. There's always one of our major signings for one of the big six clubs waits until the final day to get it done. And that's happened with Arsenal numerous times. It happened with United before, Chelsea. So I would just wait. I think fans are losing patience because other people are doing business, and that's pretty much it.
I mean, I don't even know if he finds he's a better midfielder. I don't think he's generally the best midfielder, like, as a midfield option this whole summer. So I don't see why you hurry just to leave that option when it's definitely an option. You just have to put up the money. So I'd keep it. I'd keep going.
What are you saying, Jess? Do you agree?
Yeah, no, I agree with what everybody else already kind of said. Like, he's your number one target, so you kind of have to wait it out. And it hasn't been that long. It's only been 2 weeks of the transfer window. This is just how it is, but you're going to have to come up to, 80 million, probably something around there. That's a lot of money. The only thing I would say is that he has to hit the ground running and he has to be good. The longer this goes on, the more pressure there will be for him to be exactly what that price tag says. So that's really the pressure. You could get 2 or 3 players for that amount, less pressure, but this is a huge signing. So yeah, I think you wait for him. This is what Ten Hag wants. He's going to build everything around him, but that pressure is really building. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, listen, again, I see a guy, and I think he's posted the same comment about 10 times saying Terry's in the mud, and you said negative fans were fake fans. Listen, I think some people love to be negative about everything, and they're panicking. My opinion, asking questions isn't. I do find it strange about YouTube is you ask a question as a host, and people take your question as a point you believe in. I agree with Egal. I don't think the time is to panic right now. My point around the Glazers, like taking money out, it is what it is. Stick that, but all that money should be spent on the football club. Like, it should not be taken out as dividends in this period, but. I do think there's this element of I've been asking for it for 9 years, and I need to stay true to myself here that we should be aiming for our number one targets. And if we don't get them, maybe you don't improve that area this summer. You wait. I think there is this kind of rivals waiting for it. And United fans have got to be strong enough to accept this, that at the end of this window, no matter how good it is, there is likely to still be holes in this team because 10 odd people are leaving. We've been awful, really. We've had a few good moments in the last 9 years, but we've been awful. We're starting a brand new rebuild. There's still going to be holes, and we've got to learn to accept that it's going to take a couple of summers to get everything where we want it to be. And I think that's what I mean when I'm calling out certain United fans that have this weird notion that everything has to be fixed in 6-7 weeks in the summer, or I'm going to be angry. It's kind of, where do you get off on thinking that's even possible?
What about the dividends, Terry? Is it, educate me for a second, is it for a loan or is it for a specific thing? Because you should have already planned for this every season where they take this money out and you already have like something else aside for your transfer budget.
Well, they plan for it. They know they're taking it. They wait and see what their profits are. And then they, like any business, they take their dividends out. It's just for them to have as people, it's payment. It's like a bonus, whatever you want to call it. There is a plan. That the point I think Mina made is there's a differential where we're not willing to go above, but the Glazers don't need that money. So if the Glazers were working class people and they own the football club and they needed their dividends because it's paying the school fees for their kids, it's paying for some mortgages, then fair enough. But when you're a billionaire, like £11 million is a drop in the ocean. Like, they don't need the money. That's what I'm saying, mate. So there is a plan by Man United. We know they're going to do this, but it's frustrating to read that they're taking money out the club while we're struggling to get some of these deals over the line financially. I think that's the kind of issue that a lot of people have with it. But look, Man United have got to move on, not move on as such, but like maybe drop the intensity around the Frankie de Jong situation and move on to some other players, I think, at the very least. And another one we are looking at is Antony. I want to come to you first on this, David, because it's now reported that Chelsea might start to look at him and try and hijack. I mean, Chelsea are looking at a lot of inside forwards and wingers. What's your take on Antony to Chelsea?
I have a special place for Antony because I found him on FM, I think it was like 19, and he was like a 17-year-old kid, and he became like the best player in the world. So I will not say anything. I have never watched him play a game of football. I'll be very honest.
God.
I've never watched him. But if he was to join Chelsea, I'd be there like this kid's winning the Ballon d'Or. Just because I've seen it happening in my game, it's going to happen in real life. It's all vibes. I know nothing about this kid. All I know is he's fast. He does a lot of skills, and like he's like a very good Eredivisie winger. However, how that's going to translate over to the Premier League, I'm not too sure. But can he be worse than like Pulisic? Can he be worse than Timo Werner? Can he be worse than Ziyech? Probably not. And if he's only going to be 40, 45 mil, take a punt.
I thought Ziyech was all right. I see all this Ziyech slander on the timeline. I don't get it. Man. I thought
Ziyech is like Ziyech. It's if I don't do one thing magical a game, I do nothing. So he will have a ball where he whips it in and it's perfect back post.
He
and
scored a worldie against us. Maybe like, that's what's tinting my thing.
Genuinely, he'll have a moment every 5-7 games where you're like, oh my god, but he can't replicate it.
Okay, and he needs like that consistency. I question Antony because I think coming from the Eredivisie, players struggle. Bergwijn was supposed to be a big player when he came to Tottenham. He struggled. Hakim Ziyech, big player, came to Chelsea, struggled. And both those players had better numbers than Antony while they're in the Eredivisie. So if he comes over, I'm questioning how quickly he'll adjust and if he even adjusts, because those two players I just mentioned, you could say they've yet to adjust to the Premier League.
Yeah, was it? Obviously, Bergwijn hasn't. The frustrating thing about Bergwijn is that when he plays for Holland, he looks amazing. But when he plays for Spurs, other than Leicester last year, he don't see a good player. So yeah, it is a tricky one. There are good other players that came, like obviously Eriksen, his first stint in the Premier League, he was fantastic, hit the ground running. Jan Vertonghen as well. So there are players. I know, you've got to go back a bit.
And Percy, Suarez,
even Toby Alderweireld as well. So there are players.
Also, the league was better back then, right? The Eredivisie was better back when they were there. It's dead now. So
when
the Eredivisie was better back then.
I don't know. I feel like the Eredivisie from about the early 2000s onwards has just been it's been a good league, but there hasn't been very many years in the past 20 where we've looked at the team going into the Champions League out of Holland and the Netherlands and gone, they could be dangerous this year. Yeah.
I mean, ultimately it's hit or miss with the players. Like the ones that we named, it's 50-50. It's never definitive. Definitely. I think Antony needs development. I don't think he's anywhere near being like Sancho will be good next season because he was always a good player and he's already developed. It's fine. Antony needs development. Like, he's a good player, but right now it's like a lot of skills and vibes. And so I wouldn't imagine he hits the ground running, but I don't think he needs to because there's Rashford, there's Sancho, he can have more time. But you look at his numbers, if he was really, really good and ready to go, he'd have way better numbers in the Eredivisie because it's a very weak league. So, but yeah, I think he's a development player, but he could be something really special.
It's interesting. So go on, David. Go on, mate.
I was going to say, his underlying numbers are actually really good. That's one thing that does, when you look at his numbers, it's not like the actual goals and assists. When you look under it, it's like he progresses the ball really well, whether that's passing or whether that's with his feet. He gets a lot of shots off. He creates a lot of chances. They just haven't transferred over to good numbers yet. So is that an Ajax thing, or is that him just being a bit unlucky? Not sure. But again, I'm pure vibes with this kid because I discovered him a couple of years ago. I bought it for 20 mil.
It depends.
It's pure vibes.
It depends what your expectations are. If you guys are expecting him to come in and start week in, week out and keep Rashford out of the team, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that at this age. We're going to have to wait and see.
But are United buying him for the sole purpose to play him on the right? Rashford doesn't like to play on the right. Sancho doesn't really like to play on the right. He prefers to play on the left. Rashford has said he prefers to play on the left. So if we're going to buy a winger, then we solely need to buy a winger who's going to play consistently on the right.
But then I'm saying temper your expectations because he is young, and as Jess said, he still needs development. So you're going to have the expectations and the pressure of playing for Manchester United. He's going to be asked to produce 10 plus goals and at least like 5 plus assists per all season. So if he can't hit those targets, you're gonna see people putting a lot of pressure on him.
I don't think anybody's saying he's like a bad player or anything. It's just he may not hit the ground running. I don't think that's like a far-fetched thing to say.
And I just want to say, with United, and since Sir Alex Ferguson has retired, what player has come in on a summer transfer and hit the ground running straight away? The only person who has come in, I think, from a transfer and hit the ground running straight away was Bruno Fernandes, and he came in January. So he came in midway from the season, which is why I feel like with the whole De Jong saga, I worry that if this saga just plays out for the whole summer and we end up signing him, he's going to have high expectations on his shoulders. Same way with when we brought Sancho after a year of trying to get him, he came in and there was high expectations on his shoulders. And, you know, he didn't disappoint, but again, he came into a situation which wasn't ideal with Oli inconsistently playing on the right, on the left. He didn't really know where his position was in the club. So if we're going to go all out for Antony, because to be honest, there's not many right wingers on the market right now. Ousmane Dembele, I saw that he's being linked to actually staying at Barca today. So there's not a lot of right wingers that we're really linked to at the moment. So if we're going to go all out for Antony, he's going to come in and he has to hit the ground running straight away. Like, there's no exception to be like, oh, he's young, he's talented, he's this, he's that. If he's talented, then he'll be able to work with his manager that he's been working with in the past, and he'll be able to get the best out of him from day one.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea are linked with this kind of gate crashing, hijacking type notion, but Sterling and Dembele appear to be their main targets. Raphinha, Richarlison, maybe Antony kind of sit behind that. In terms of just reading Chelsea news, it feels like that's the kind of pecking order. But if you look at what the top journalists now in the Netherlands are saying, that because of the Sebastian Haller and whoever else have now left, is it Gravenbach? Is that how it's pronounced? Because they've all gone already. Yeah. They're looking at anywhere between sort of 60s and 80 million euros now for the Timbers, the Lisandro Martinez's, and the Antonys to leave. Now, of course, the Ajax are going to push that out. Is there a possibility that when the deals are all said and done, clubs can negotiate that down? Of course. At the same time, though, if you do end up spending 60, 70 million pounds on a player, there has to be that pressure for them to deliver. And then that's where your recruitment team and your manager, in this case, Ten Hag or Thomas Tuchel, has got to be sure that those players can deliver. And for me, I don't really worry about the player being able to handle it or not per se. That's just part and parcel of football. You sign for the biggest football club in the world, there's pressure. You can already see with the glint in Egal's eye and the smile on his face. He's like, oh, I hope you do spend some big money so I as a rival can put pressure on them failing. And listen, I grew up with it. It's how it is. Man, everything Man United do is gargantuan. You know, we don't get the academy player leaves. It's trending news. You know, all of you tweet about Man United every single day. So of course, it's usual to see and feel that. And if my players can't handle it, then they're not. It's like with Uri and Timber. Oh, I don't want to go to United because I might not get in the first team. Then you're not a Man United player yet. You're not ready for Man United, and that's actually a good sign. You know, we should not be buying players that don't fancy themselves to be able to get into this shit show. Imagine not thinking you get into this team. Like, that for me is the maddest thing here. Do you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Do you know what I mean? But certainly going to be an interesting one with the prices that are now being discussed. As a super chat here that says, y'all shouldn't forget. Ten Hag wants to build a system so individual stats don't matter to him much. It's the caliber and suitability, not the individual stats.
That's a good point, I guess. Yeah, you got to have a team unit. Yeah, makes sense. But you still need quality in those components for the cog and the machine to work. So, you know, individual stats, yes, but you still need quality to make the wheels turn. So yeah.
I think then if you want to apply that, you have to apply that to every single player that goes somewhere that doesn't have huge stats and say that it's about suitability. You know, I've seen recently that Raphinha is not that good because his statistics aren't out of this world. Well, maybe Arteta is looking for suitability and it doesn't really matter the individual stats. They do matter for wingers and things like that. And that's why I'm saying it's not that he's going to be a bad player. I'm sure he fits right into Ten Hag's system. I'm just not sure that he's going to hit the ground running. That's pretty much all it is.
You know what?
I think that's fair.
I forgot about the Ten Hag factor.
Yeah, I mean, but what I would say to Egal is this: you've got someone like Odegaard as an example. Now, there are a lot of people that think Martin Odegaard is a better attacking midfielder than Bruno, not because he assists or scores more, but because of how the game flows through him better. Holds on to possession more, brings more people into play, because that's what he's kind of good at. But that's the point of a system, isn't it? It's around having those key components to kind of fit. And of course, it's very easy when Man United or any club are linked to a player, he'll flop at your club. It doesn't take a genius to go, he'll flop, and have no real substance behind it. None of us really know. There's more likely that a lot of United players have flopped, but we all know that's because we just haven't really had a good enough plan. The hope is this time around we get it right. It's very easy and very predictable to predict that we're going to win, but that we're going to fail in that way. It's a bit like it's very easy to predict the Man City win in every game they play in because 79% of the time you're right. It's a very easy prediction to make. So I kind of get it, but the system will be very interesting to see indeed. Antony is after the money. Maybe he is. Something someone put in here in a minute ago made me laugh. Says, why is Terry wearing a Make United Great cap again?
That MAGA.
I did think, as a white man wearing a red hat, I knew there'd be at least one comment saying that. You know what I mean? But, there we go. Great joke. Thank you. Well done. Buzzing. Honestly, I can give you a gold star for that one, brother. But there we go. I want to stay on Chelsea a little bit, though, because news today from Simon Phillips. Simon Phillips, very credible in the Chelsea kind of community and fan base, has said, and I want to quote him right when I read this out, that Ligt is a genuine target this summer. There's more positivity now that a fee can be agreed, or at least a fee that Chelsea are more willing to pay. So there's a lot of work to be done, but Ligt to Chelsea appears to be a bona fide option. Is he good enough for the Prem? I mean, he hasn't really set the world alight in Italy. Is just a good bit of business for Chelsea? What are we saying?
Have we not learned? Stop spending big money on these players, man. It's not working. Every time we spend big money on people, it flops. If you look at every single big name transfer Chelsea have made, I think like the best one starts around like 50, 55 mil. The Ligt minimum will cost you 80. I don't want the Ligt. I think he's a good player. Don't get it twisted. I'm not faulting the player's quality, but like for 80 mil, I don't want the Ligt. Like,
I mean, who do you have in your academy? Just bring somebody out of your academy. It's already been shown that your academy develops really good center backs. Why would you spend 80 million on somebody who's not even considered like one of the top 10 in the world? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Where are you getting this 80 mil from, though? Is it really 80 mil, or is that just
he has like a release clause of like 100 mil, and like if it's saying like we can agree on a fee, it won't probably be 100. But like if I was just ballpark to say 80, just as a figure, I still wouldn't want to pay that, and that's probably
crazy.
A bit conservative.
If he comes in at 80 mil, he's going to have so much pressure on him to perform, and if he doesn't, and he takes time, he's going to get. Yeah, it's not going to end well for him, man. It's not going to end well.
Don't Chelsea have a buyback on any of their centre backs that they sold recently, in Guehi or Tomori?
I think we have a buyback in Gay, but I think it only activates from next year. So, yeah.
Oh, man. That's the hard part, right? Is like, I think the center backs that you guys develop or have in your academy are good. And the fact that you're selling them and then you're bringing in these kind of guys that, you know, there's no guarantee. It's crazy. And Delit's like, what, 22? Like, I'd rather try to get like a Koulibaly or somebody like that. At least you can say he has the experience. And at one point, he was considered one of the best in the world. That's insane. The Delit thing is insane for me. He doesn't even start for the Netherlands. He can't even get in over Ake. Like, it's deep.
Napoli won't sell him for cheap, though. That's another player they're gonna have to pay for a lot of money. But the experience alone from Koulibaly would be amazing.
He's got 1 year left in his contract.
I've got a message here from Anita, because Anita in the group chat, she couldn't be on the show today, but this is what she said, so I'm going to play it.
Oh my God, whoever is talking about Chelsea, please tell the world that the Ligt should not touch Chelsea at all, and they should not be going in for Antony or Raphinha. This is not a charity club.
She goes on to send a few texts. I've actually had enough. Why are we linked to everyone and their dogs? Get Kunde, get Koulibaly. Like, there does seem to be that kind of thing from Chelsea fans. Like, why are we chasing the targets everybody else are after? Go and get our kind of own. But with the Ligt, though, I will say this about him. He's still only 22. And 22-year-olds are not meant to be the fit. When you think about, like, I swear he's younger than Tomori.
Yeah, he probably is. It's just that he came out at like 17, didn't he? He hit the ground at 17.
He came out with so much hype and so much buzz. And I always say this about defenders. And I think the further up the pitch you move, the easier it is. I don't think defenders and goalkeepers are top class at their games until mid-20s. I think it takes a long time to learn to be a quality defender, because if you could be a great finisher, but strikers can make 10 mistakes a game and be a hero. Defenders make one mistake and they're hated on, their villains, if that makes sense. And I feel like the Ligt, it's about the price. If you bring him in for 30, 40s, good business. 80, 90 millions is crazy, but there's no way you could be paying 80, 90 million, because I just, what are you saying, Mina? Do you feel like Chelsea should be looking for some more experience, or does a 22-year-old who was once tipped to go on to be the best centre-back in the world, does it represent good business in your eyes?
I hope Chelsea buy the Ligt solely because I hope that there's another stupid centre-back in the league that's not playing for United. But all jokes aside, I don't think they should be going for the Ligt. I think they should be going for Koulibaly or Koundé. I think they should be going for experience. They lost Rudiger. They might lose Aspilicueta. They lost Christensen. So I think it's important to go for experience, especially if they're not like United where they're going through a rebuild phase. I think they're going straight back to competing for the league, competing for the Champions League. So it makes more sense to go for experience. And if they were to buy a young star, it wouldn't have made sense for them to have sold Tomori, because look at him now at AC Milan. That's the kind of defender that they probably would get better off getting rather than going for the Ligt.
Mina, I disagree. I think Chelsea are in a rebuild. And what happened is they were literally last season thinking they've done the rebuild phase and they've won the Champions League and they're going to push on to win the league. And in a year's time, they've sold the majority of their depth is gone. A lot of players have run out of contract. They've lost players on a free, and now they're back. Now they're back where they were when Lampard got hired, almost where they might.
Whoa!
But do you think that they? Let me just ask you this, Egal, before
I really do think Chelsea are in a top 4 race next season. That is just my opinion. But hey,
back to where we were with Lampard.
But do you think that they?
No. I'm not saying Thomas Tuchel's Lampard. I'm saying the squad in the position where you're going to be fighting for next season is going to be similar to what.
Egal, let me ask you this. Do you think that they had foreseen this last summer when they were buying Lukaku and they were in a great position going into that transfer window and starting the season? This is before the war with Ukraine and Russia started, where their owner was forced to sell their club. Do you think that they would have predicted that they would have been in this rebuild now this summer? No, I don't think this is I don't call this a rebuild. Genuinely, I think them getting rid of Lukaku for a year is definitely going to do them more good than negative.
They are in a rebuild. They are in a rebuild because they need to get defenders, they need midfielders, and their attack needs to be reshuffled. The only position that they have secured right now is who? Their goalkeeper. They have one center back who they can rely on. They don't even have 2 good center backs at this moment in time. Aspilicueta, he's getting old. When it comes to the midfield, Conte's getting a little bit older. Jorginho is still there. Kovacic is still there. Their attack, we know their attack has been shaky this whole time. Besides Mason Mount and Kai Havertz, no one else has been consistent. So when it comes down to it, Chelsea are actually in a much more dangerous position than they were a year ago. A year ago, they thought Lukaku was the final piece of the puzzle. Now they're looking at their whole squad. They're saying we need overhauling in many different areas.
Yeah, because
are you guys saying you need an overhaul?
First of all, before so much wrong with what you just said. First of all, right, just because you think that you're in a position, if your thinking is wrong, it's wrong. It doesn't matter what you think. It was wrong, and very few people did. But I sat here and said we are not in that position where we think we should be challenging up here. But that's by the by, right? When you say we're in a rebuild, I agree, but there's a difference between our rebuild and your rebuild. Your rebuild is you're building up from 7th.
That doesn't change the point.
Up to 4th. Oh no, I'm saying in our absolute worst position, we're gonna finish 4th. Absolute worst. We had point. No, but we're not. No, but it wasn't even close last year.
Why are you so triggered? My point is that my
point is, Egal, you're saying we're going to be in a race for top 4, right?
That's what I'm saying.
For us to be in a race.
Would you have reacted this way if a Liverpool fan would have said you're in a rebuild? Because You proved Egal right. He said that you're in a rebuild and you agreed, and that's the point, right?
It annoys me because people
it annoys you because
Egal
said it.
No, it annoys me because when we are losing,
because you went straight into it's not the same as our rebuild.
Let me explain why it annoys me. It annoys me because people are there like, oh, you're losing so many players and this, that, and the other, and it's like Rudiger, I fully agree with. I didn't want to lose him, but he's gone. Christensen out the door. Do you think I care? Aspie leaving. How many times have I come on this show and said Aspie needs to stop playing? Because unless he's playing right centre back, I don't want to see it. Right?
1 second.
We have enough. There are enough players out there for us not to worry.
This will determine.
Even with our dead squad.
Just because you're in a rebuild doesn't mean you got to be worried.
An absolute worst.
David, you're going 100 miles a minute. How many players do you think you need to compete? If you need more than 4 or 5,
compete for a league, like 6.
Okay, so that's a rebuild. You need 6 players to improve your team. That is a rebuild.
I agree with a rebuild. But your point is that you said we're in a rebuild for top, and we're going to be in a race for top 4. We're going to be in a rebuild, but we're not going to be in a race for top 4. Those two things can like exist, but not coexist.
So where are you finishing next year?
Why can't you say that without like?
I'm saying next year we finish 3rd. Next year, as of today, we finish 3rd.
Okay, interesting.
You found out, man. You just got triggered for the Arsenal.
I disagree. I don't think you guys finished 3rd.
I don't either personally, but
yeah, I don't think you guys finished 3rd.
I think if we didn't have half a season where we had no owner and half the fans weren't allowed in the stadium and this, that, and the other,
you guys said
I think we would have done a little bit better. I think we would have done a little bit better.
During the season, you guys said it didn't affect you guys.
Yes, I think everything.
Yeah, and that was and we were wrong. The
worst case scenarios has come to fruition at Chelsea, where the ownership change has now put a ripple effect throughout the whole group, and now their scouting department, everything else that they're going to be changing could affect their summer this season, and that's also going to affect them, and we're not thinking about that also.
We're 2 weeks in. You can't even say that.
Do you know what I find interesting is this? There's two. I get where Egal is coming from here, but there are other sides to this, and I want to play devil's advocate here. All the attackers they're looking to sell, output-wise, shit. So whoever they bring in, they're either going to be as crap, meaning they can come 3rd again, or better, right? Like there's no cap. I remember when Alexis Sanchez left Man United, and at the time we were promoting a young player from the academy who I'm just not mentioning his name anymore. And everyone's like, oh, it might be too much. What if he flops as well? It's like, bruv, Alexis Sanchez scored 5 goals in 18 months. As long as he scores 5 goals in 18 months, he's done as well as Alexis Sanchez, right? So there's that. Plus, just needing 4 or 5 players don't mean... Does City need a rebuild, in your opinion, Egal?
Say it again?
Does City need a rebuild?
No, they just won the league.
They're buying 5 players this summer.
Because they're a well-run club. But they don't need to.
But then they do need to. This is the one thing.
Because they need to win the Champions League. They're doing this to win the Champions League. It's not to win the Premier League.
My point was not only because he needed 5 players. I asked him, how many players do you think you need? And my point was, because you need so many players to fill holes in your starting 11, hence you are currently in a transition period.
I get that. I'm making a point here. I think Chelsea, of course, got lots going on, lots of transitions at the club. But if you actually listen to the reports, is that they're actually going to give a lot of the... It hasn't all come out in the wash yet, but I get the feeling that a lot of the issues with Marina, etc., is that the new owners want to back what Tuchel wants, where Marina and co are like, well, this is what Chelsea want to do. And I think that that's actually a good thing for Chelsea fans. They're going to give the manager what he wants. But my point is more, rebuilds for me are more a cultural thing from top to bottom, changing mentality, changing the way you play, changing. Board members changing doesn't necessarily mean cultural change per se. They're keeping the same manager, they're keeping the same coaching staff, they're keeping the same ethos on the training ground. I think rebuild just being based on buying 5 or 6 players doesn't necessarily mean you're rebuilding and constructing everything. They're gonna come into a playing scenario which is very good. The thing about Todd Boehly, yes, they're making changes, but he isn't renowned for running sports clubs, sports franchises, whatever the phrase you want to use. He's not renowned for like running them badly. If you get where I'm coming from, it isn't like suddenly they've gone, right, Marina's going and Woodward's taking over. That would make them panic. I do get your point, though. There's a lot of transition going on, but I don't necessarily think needing 5 or 6 players is that issue, because City are looking at Cucurella, they're looking at Phillips. They've already signed 2 strikers, and now they're looking at Joao Felix. Like, they don't need a rebuild. They just need to improve their squad again. And clubs should always be looking to. I think on average, top 6 clubs on average buy and sell about 8 players combined each summer. You don't rebuild every summer. Like, that's my kind of point. I think it gets watered down too simplistically.
Are they, Terry? Yes or no? Are they in a rebuild?
Rebuild for what? Are they rebuilding?
Are they rebuilding to try to get to the top of the table and win the Premier League?
I don't think they're rebuilding. I think they're adding. And they're moving out some players that aren't good enough, and they're adding some players to it. The system isn't going to change. Training isn't going to change. The ethos at the club isn't going to change. There's no sign that their mentality is changing. How they go about things. So the club isn't just going to throw good money after bad anymore. They're going to be more prudent. I think they're going to be a little bit more economical in how they do things, but that doesn't mean cheap. So rebuild for me, I don't think is the right word for it. They are doing what City and Liverpool are doing on a slightly lesser scale. They're adding better quality to what they've already got. And they've already got a team that got to the final of the League Cup, final of the FA Cup, should have knocked Real Madrid out of the Champions League and finished 3rd after having a quote-unquote bad season. Chelsea, for me, are not in a dire position where the club's falling down around them. Maybe the complete opposite. Maybe they're going to be run a little bit more efficiently now. Chelsea are a dark horse for me.
I think you're saying rebuild, but you're using 100 words to explain the exact same.
I don't think.
Go ahead, Patrick. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say I don't think Chelsea in a rebuild. That's a bit far fetched. But what I will say is that, Terry, with your point about, they bring in these players, and if they're not any worse, they still may finish 3rd. I don't know if that's true, because Tottenham and Arsenal will definitely improve. There's no doubt about that. Man United will improve as well. I can't see United getting any worse. So if Chelsea are stuttering and stammering like they did from the second half of the season, then for me, they're in trouble. So this whole nonchalant attitude of Chelsea fans saying, we're definitely going to finish in the top 4. I don't know where that's coming from, because they only finished 3 points above us, and we were awful for half the season. Arsenal, they're 5 points ahead if they only finish 3 points ahead of us. And Arsenal will definitely get better with the signings they brought in. So unless Chelsea do bring in some quality, they will be in trouble. Let's just be real.
They will, but they will bring in some quality. I mean, in my opinion, they're going to bring in Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling is one of the best attackers in the league. Like, he really is. We're all talking about Antony's and Raphinha's and the like. Raheem Sterling's better than all of them.
Definitely.
So if they bring him in, that's different. Now, the Dembele deal's a weird one for me, because the guy's legs are made of breadsticks. Do you know what I mean? Like, ability-wise, he's one of the best inside forwards in the world, wingers in the world, whatever people want to say. But they're going to bring in some quality, Chelsea. I can't imagine the best quality player they buy is like Ollie Watkins. Like, I'm just throwing that name out there. I can't imagine Chelsea. If they do that, I'll change my entire thought process. But Chelsea will buy quality players, and they've still got Thomas Tuchel. This man has been the manager in a year.
Well, the only thing I will say is that they have to figure out the attack, and I'm not sure it's just because they don't have good players. I think that there's something not right with the way that they're playing. That's just my one thing. Tuchel has to figure out the attack. That's always been kind of like, there's something there. I know they scored more goals than us. Not saying that we have a better attack or anything like that, but in comparison to Liverpool and Man City, who are scoring like 100 goals a season, they do need to improve it. And I don't really see Ziyech, Pulisic, all these players. I know that we're saying that they're bad, but ultimately, I also think Tuchel needs to work on the attack.
Especially the Yank.
I don't think that Sterling goes there and scores more goals than he's doing at City. He could score less.
That's interesting.
I think he could, because he'll probably be playing every single game. He won't be involved in Pep Roulette.
Every single striker or attacker that you guys have go there are worse than from where they came. So there's something wrong. Yeah, I think so.
That's not true.
Who got better? Who's playing better and scoring more goals than they did?
Well, like, if you look at recent history, Costa got better. Hazard.
No, I'm talking about now. When
if we're talking about last year, then no, innit? Because that was bad.
But so that's my point. That's my point. There is that I don't think Sterling comes in and scores more goals. There's something up there with the system. Something needs to change in regards to that. There's still midfield questions. Who are you guys going to bring in midfield? Who are you guys you have 3 defenders that you need to, bring in or something like that. So that's all I'm saying. There's a lot to do. I'm not saying you guys are going to slide. I'm just saying there's nothing set. There's nothing definitive there.
Of course, there's nothing definitive. But what I'll say is this, though, and there's a super chat here that says our attack's been struggling since Sarri, DM needed. And I think a midfielder is definitely needed at Chelsea. But equally, the one common denominator, something I've always bemoaned about Chelsea, is not buying players that suit the manager and or his system. Jose moaned about it. Conte moaned about it. Sarri moaned about it. Lampard kind of didn't, but he just wasn't a good enough manager. And even Tuchel, got to defend him here a little bit. Yes, they went and signed Lukaku, but he wasn't the kind of player that he needed. Almost within a couple of months of being here, the interview, like, you're not paying to my straight and all of this. That was, for me, a Roman signing to try and bring him back, not a Tuchel signing. And that's why I think Todd Bowley's come in and said, no, we're going to buy the players that Thomas Tuchel needs to get the very best out of his system. And you are right, they need to solve that attacking situation, but they create the chances that the movement is there for me, or they create the phases to create the chances. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I think they're going to spend some big money. There's no doubt. We've got some super chats here I want to go to. The first one here says, Terry, you have just gained 1 billion subscribers. I wish. Given an opportunity to a Muslim sister who has more football knowledge than most pundits. I don't really know how to respond to that. I want the 1 billion followers, actually. That would be nice. But giving people opportunities is what the Terrace has always done organically. It's great to have Mina on here. And thank you very much for the super chat, my guy. Gunadan here says, if the Ligt is available and Ten Hag doesn't want him at United, it's a clear message to Chelsea. Big up, Terry, although these streams make me skint. There's worse ways to spend your money than super chatting, but thank you very much for the donations. If Chelsea only replace their players they lost and don't get a DM, will finish 6th. Michael Edwards is the best signing we could make, but we need a DM. Do you guys agree? If they don't sign a DM, are Chelsea coming 6th next year?
Well, I kind of did already allude to that, didn't I? Saying that the other teams around them are going to improve. So I think Chelsea doesn't get spoken about enough because they're Chelsea and they made top 4 and everyone expected that. But to actually take it back, I said Chelsea would win the league last year. That's how confident I was that adding Lukaku was the final piece of that jigsaw. And they just about scraped 3rd. I remember there was a time when Arsenal fans were saying that they're going to finish 3rd. That's how bad Chelsea were in that last back end of the season. They were awful to watch. Let's be real. It's not even a dig. I'm not even trying to send shots.
I mean, you can't even say that. Like, if you say that they weren't fun to watch, or
they were awful.
You get killed, but they
weren't good.
Yeah, they weren't.
I mean, again, some people saying that Arsenal are going to finish 3rd. It's just delusion. Second of all, I don't watch my football team for them to look good. I watch for them to win. I don't care how.
You know what? It's not even as a Tottenham fan, I'll sit here and say Arsenal could finish 3rd. Why not? They were actually.
I'm sorry, they were.
Why can't?
I'm sorry.
No, the one thing that I'll say, David, is that you're not going to. What I'm going to tell you is that you do this all the time, and it's cute, but Chelsea being better than Spurs and Arsenal is nothing. You're Chelsea.
No, I know.
You need to figure out a way to be better than. No, but that's your backup plan. It's like, well, we're better than you. We know that, but we're talking about
I'm talking about.
It ain't. It's not.
The way that if you said to a Man City or a Liverpool fan, we're going to finish ahead of you next year. Obviously, they're slightly more ahead, but they'd sit there and be like, "What are you guys talking about? We're better than you." That's the way I view.
Can I tell you something,
Spurs and Arsenal. I think Arsenal are in for a rude awakening next season because you're going to go back to playing Europa League football. That is going to affect you.
I think you're the one that's in the rude awakening, and you're in a delusional state thinking your club is.
I'm delusional.
1 second, yes, you're in a delusional state thinking your club is still under Roman and everything's the same, and you're going to sign all these players and you have all this money to spend. Well, you're in the unknown at this moment in time. You don't know how much money your club's going to spend this window. You don't know what they're actually going to do. You know what players you're linked to, but there's still a lot of uncertainty. And to sit there and still say, for sure, we're going to finish above you guys. You're hopeful. You don't actually have the center backs in. You actually haven't signed anybody. You haven't done anything of note yet.
I'm hopeful in my own team doing well. How dare I? How dare me? Throw me out.
Are in a situation
I'm so positive in my own team. How could I? It's awful. Bloody hell.
No, listen. I'm actually bringing sensible points. You're just saying, "Oh, look at Arsenal." No,
Egal, cook him.
No,
I mean, but that's
Egal,
all he says
Egal.
is, well, look at Arsenal.
Egal.
It's true.
Egal.
Egal's
You're
right
sitting
about
there.
that.
You're
He's
sitting
right
there.
about that.
You're sitting there when everybody speaks.
I'm not.
Your body language, and you're like, oh,
I'm not.
You're right. The moment I speak, you're like, oh,
You're not right though.
That's
You're
what I
not right,
said. The only reason
You're
why
not
he got
right.
upset is because you said it. He agreed that
No,
they were in
it's
a
not.
rebuild,
Genuinely.
but it was because
The amount
Egal
of-
said it. He was,
No,
oh
the
my
amount
gosh,
of-
how dare you say it?
The amount of people,
all
the
you have
amount of
to do is-
people I've
Bro,
had to listen
humble
to.
yourself.
No,
Understand.
the amount of people. What do you humble myself? What are you talking about? What are you talking
Humble
about?
yourself.
Humble
Understand.
myself.
Chelsea won the
You
Champions
put
League a couple years
disparity on
ago.
top four last
One
year,
second.
and you're talking about-
Understand.
You're talking about humble
Humble
myself.
yourself. Understand. Your team won the Champions League a couple years ago. You thought Lukaku was going to come in and be the missing piece of the puzzle, and now
I
you find
didn't
yourself
think
in the
that.
same position. You
I
find
didn't
yourself
think
in the
that,
same
did I?
position. You
Did I
find
think
yourself
that?
in the
Egal,
same
did I think
position.
that?
David
One second.
hates
Egal,
Lukaku.
did I
You
think
though.
that?
speaking over
Yeah,
me is not
he
going to
hates
get your
Lukaku.
point across.
Egal, did I
You
think
find
that?
your-
Lukaku
Guys,
finish.
guys,
No,
let
let me finish.
guys,
Let me
let
finish.
Egal finish, please.
Let me finish. You now find yourself in the same position as Tottenham and Arsenal and Manchester United next season, going into it with some uncertainty over if you're going to get top four or not. That is the reality.
It's not true. We're not in the same position as
No,
you.
listen, Egal, and I have to say, no, Egal, that's a very clever statement. Uncertainty whether you'll make it. That is true because there's uncertainty whether City or Liverpool will win the league, and it's just very well worded, Egal. That is brilliant, brother. You should
I mean,
honestly.
you're closer to us than you are to them.
Yeah,
at this
exactly.
point.
That's a true
You're
statement.
closer to us than you are to the top
But
two.
Egal, I want you to go more on this because I want you to. You're slightly like you're hanging over the fence, but you're still kind of on it. Yeah. Do you think Chelsea will properly flop next year? Is that what you're saying? Like outright? Is that what you're saying is going to happen?
Have they brought in a center back yet?
That isn't
No,
the
they
question. That's not the
No,
question.
no,
What do you
this
think
is my
gonna
point.
happen?
This is my point. This is to my
Egal,
point.
Egal,
Bring
you
in a
literally
center
said-
back, bring in a center back, bring in midfield depth, and bring in an attacker. Then I might change my opinion. At this moment in time, Chelsea Football Club are in the same position as Arsenal, Manchester United, Tottenham, fighting for that top four spot.
You literally sat here at the start of the show and said it's just the start of the window. Why is everyone panicking?
No. But I get that. I get it's the start of the window, and nobody should be panicking. But I'm
So
saying,
why are you expecting me to panic then?
I don't give a shit about Chelsea. I'm just telling you my opinion on what I think about next season. So I'm telling you my opinion based on what I think, and this is what I think.
But
I
Egal,
think
when you
Chelsea
sit there,
Football Club-
when you
I
sit
think
there,
Chelsea football fans
Egal.
and Chelsea Football Club in general need to realize you no longer have Roman Abramovich. You no longer have that cash influx to change things. Until I see your new owner actually put the money on the table and sign a bunch of players and get deals done, I will not believe that you guys are going to be this better
Egal,
team.
Egal,
Right
you're sat
now,
there.
right now,
You're
you
sat
need to
there.
humble yourself. Yes, you're European
Egal,
champion.
Egal,
last year.
Egal,
Right now, you finished
you literally sat
third.
there.
You're
Egal,
nowhere
you literally
near
sat there.
what
You
thought
literally
were
sat
gonna be.
there and said, "You haven't signed a centre back. You haven't signed another centre back.
Okay,
You
what
haven't
is
signed
your
another
point?
centre mid."
Rebuttal my point.
You're assuming my club is not going to sign any of these players.
I didn't say that. I said you've yet to do those things, and until I see them, I can't predict that you're going to be better off than you were last year, which you finished third.
But
and
if
you
no,
struggled
but,
to finish.
but then therefore you are assuming that we do nothing. The only way we
No,
be
I
in
am
the same
not
position
assuming
as
you're
you
gonna do
is that if
nothing.
we do
I
nothing.
am assuming you're going to get a center back. I am assuming you're going to get a striker. I don't know
So,
what midfield
so
you're
you're
gonna
saying,
get.
so you're saying,
I don't know
so
what
hold on,
quality
hold on.
you're gonna
So
get.
again, let me get this
So what
straight.
is your
Let me
point?
get this straight. So you think
No.
that we are
Stop
going
arguing
to
against my
no,
point.
no, because you're having a
Actually
debate right
argue
now. So I
why
have to
Chelsea
argue
will be
against your
better.
point. I have to argue against your point. We're having a
No,
debate.
argue why
Right?
Chelsea are going to
So
be better instead of trying to
you're
argue.
saying my club finished third last year. Your club finished fifth or sixth or wherever.
Okay, once again,
right?
we're
Okay,
talking about
hold on.
Arsenal.
Hold on. Let me just.
He
let me
did
just
it
make my point.
again. He literally
just
can't
make
help
my point.
himself. He
Let
did
me
it
just
again.
make my point. Let me just make my point. You're saying that my club improves in the areas that we need to, and so does your club, but my club's going to slide and yours isn't.
No. I never
That doesn't
said.
make
I
any
never
sense.
mentioned
That doesn't
Arsenal.
make any
This is
sense.
where your
That doesn't
delusion
make any
comes
sense.
in, and
It
you
makes
can't
no
get
sense.
past the
It's
fact.
true. Egal
You
didn't
can't-
even mention
I never
Arsenal.
said
You
any
keep
sense.
mentioning Arsenal.
Why do you keep doing this?
It
Stop
doesn't make
mentioning
sense.
Arsenal.
It doesn't
Talk about
make sense. It doesn't
Stop
make
mentioning
sense. It
Arsenal.
doesn't make any sense. How can my team improve and some other team come and
David, I
overtake
am going to
me?
be quick and concise with this
It
point.
doesn't make sense.
Stop mentioning other clubs. Look at your club, and right now you're expecting to be competing with Liverpool and City after you won the Champions League, and now
Yeah.
you're back in the top four battle. That is
If
the
my
reality.
club improves the way I think it will, I think we have the potential to come second next year.
Can
I
I
did
And
just
you
say
want to know
something?
something? I don't care about your potential. The reality is you finished third, and your team has slipped from a team that won the Champions League to now competing for fourth.
But we didn't finish first. We didn't finish first when we won the Champions League anyway.
No, but you were supposed to be.
We
in the
finished
mix.
fourth. We improved our league position.
Egal, stop while you're ahead, bro. That's my advice on that one. That's my advice. Because yeah. I mean, look, again, you make a good point. I mean, until everybody's transfer windows are done, we have no idea who's going to finish where next year. Do you know what I mean? Look at Liverpool fans. Great example. They signed Darwin Núñez. We're like, wow, look what we could do. And then they're told you're signing no one else. And like, oh, shit, we can't beat City now. Like, the window is very fluid like that. We've got some super chats to do here. Great debate, though, boys. Really, really good stuff. What system is Tuchel going to play? Back 3 or 4? They need 2 centre-backs, 1 full-back, 2 attackers. It isn't a rebuild. It's more like assuring a top 4 spot is what Zane believes, who's the same Spurs fan.
Rumor has it that Tuchel wanted to play Raphinha as a wing-back. So you guys are sticking with the wing backs.
I've seen that, which is a bit mad.
God forbid that man comes in as a wing back. Honestly.
Can you imagine?
He'd get cooked.
We already had that comment up there. Chelsea needs 6 to 7 good signings to challenge for the league title. United and Arsenal need 11 to 12 signings to challenge. That's a rebuild. Jess again looking to trigger someone is what Zane says.
It wasn't just his comment. It was a gal's comment.
Gunnar King here says, David, be real. Don't make this about us. You need 2 centre backs for a back 3, cover in both fullback areas, a centre mid, maybe 2 wingers and a striker. You will buy players and there's no telling they will settle.
Interesting.
But again, you're asking me to not be positive about signings that might come. It doesn't make sense.
No, what I will say is this, though. Everything they're saying about Chelsea is right, but you can argue that against... I mean, Arsenal look like doing brilliant signings, but they may not settle. Like, the logic works for all clubs, though.
Exactly.
That's the one thing I'd say is true. It does work for all clubs.
No, our signings 100% settle and hit the ground running.
So you're confident of that then, Jess, that none of the signings you're linked with this year will struggle?
She's being sarcastic.
I'm pretty sure.
Nah, she's not. She means it. She means it.
All the Arsenal fans have got so much tragedy.
That's not my point where I would bring
No, if Raphinha comes to Arsenal, he hits the ground running. If he goes to Chelsea, he really struggles. That's how it goes.
That is a fact.
But at least that gives the points more validity, because if we're just going to say all signings that go to all clubs could foul, so there's no point getting excited, that just means transfer window's boring. Like, you've got to there's got to be a secondary statement.
Yeah, you've got to be positive. You've got to be and that's what I was going to say before. Like, just because clubs make signings, it doesn't mean they improve. That's, in an ideal world, yes, you bring in a player and it improves that position, so the team improves. But
look
we've
at
all
United.
seen,
they signed 3 of the best players in the world.
That's
and
it. It doesn't work like that. There's no rhyme or reason. And sometimes you can get a player on a loan or a free or someone that you don't even think's going to cook, and they come in and cook. None of us can predict it. But obviously, every club just tries to position themselves as best as possible.
I also think that's the thing. You can change the system slightly and bring in some new players, and other people can reignite again. You mentioned that with Man United. But suddenly playing in a much better system with a better coach. If Rafael Varane, Jadon Sancho get back to their best days, the cliche is there, but they will feel like new signings, if that makes sense, because they weren't. And again,
do you guys have hope for Varane or no? Is there hope still?
I have hope.
I do. I got hope for Varane. I think he looked good at Real Madrid when he was playing against Sergio Ramos, just because Sergio Ramos was the better player out of the two. Right now, he's in a back line where he's probably the best centre back option. That's why I really hope with the transfer window, United obviously going for De Jong, going for a right winger. I really hope that a centre back and a right back is their priority. I don't know what Ten Hag's plan is. People are saying that he might be playing a 3-5-2. If that's the case, then there's some centre backs that can play in a back 3 that are definitely on the market. And I think if Varane manages to stay fit, which he probably will try his best with the World Cup coming up, I think he will hit the ground running. And someone said it will be like a new signing. Same with Jadon Sancho. That's why I wasn't too worried this season with both of them, how they kind of performed. It was quite underwhelming going into this season, obviously, with the World Cup coming up, with Ten Hag coming up, with some new tactical structure coming up with Ten Hag. I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it pans out.
Just thank God that waste of Paul Pogba's gone, Amina.
I don't even want to talk about the Pogba saga anymore. Honestly, I'm tired of that.
Terry, are we going to talk about one of the biggest flops in Premier League history in Lukaku?
I mean, we can do. He's gone now. But we can speak about him if you. I mean, awful flop.
You know how you say pound for pound, this team is performing amazing.
Yeah.
Don't you think pound for pound, he's the worst signing in Premier League history, since he's basically come for one season and now he's going back on loan to the team that they bought him for over 100 mil.
Well, it's mad, right? They basically, I saw a tweet, and I can't remember who it was from. I really don't remember the name of the person. If anyone remembers, put it in the comments. I put it on the screen. I never like to plagiarize. They said basically, it might have been Culture Cam who said something like Inter Milan have basically loaned Lukaku to Chelsea for a year for £100 million, and it made me die because it's very true in terms of how it's happened. Casey here says, we told you Varane without Ramos is trash. Yeah, I mean, let's just see what happens with a better system next year with Manchester United. Speaking of a team, we have got more super chats to go to. We'll get these out of the way first before we move on. Come outside, Tottenham fans. We're right here, is what Air Ace has got to say. John C here says, where's David's Cheshire cat grin gone? It's because Chelsea look directionless. I mean, Ted Lasso is conducting your business. Little American jibe there. V33 says, Terry, can't we sign players like Daniel? I don't know who that is. From Shrewsbury Town, scored against Liverpool. No, I mean, I don't know how good he is, bruv. I mean, I'm not going to pretend.
I've never heard of him.
You didn't even you have to read the whole super chat. You didn't even read the whole
Stu celebration at Anfield, diamond in the rough, similar to unknowns like and Vieira. Nah, bruv, listen, I'm not going to be called out to chat about players I don't know about. I'm not one of those weirdos that thinks I have no idea how good he is, but my answer is going to be no on that one. I got to defend David. How can you tell him to humble himself when you are talking about Champions League without even making it? Is what Joshua Jack has got to say here. Wayne said, I don't get how Chelsea fans think they will be in the top 4 fight. Arsenal won more matches than Chelsea and only finished 5 points behind them, is what Wayne says. And John C comes back again and says, David's Cheshire cat grin has gone. Ted Lasso conducting the business directionless. David's getting cooked. He's getting cooked.
I think it's because Chelsea fans have been hiding for a minute. Like, they haven't really been out and about. This is the first time I've spoken to a Chelsea fan since the season.
There's nothing to talk about.
Where you been?
Terry said Chelsea should swap Mount for Felix. Could you back this up, considering Mount was vastly outperformed him in a superior league and in the Champions League? I think I might have said that like 3 summers ago. Yeah, I mean, I've got nothing to say about that now because Mount's done well. Felix has been at a club that's basically got, playing terrorist football. So, like, I don't know what to say other than that, bruv. Like, it's not, I mean, that's a good memory if you remember that. But at the time, listen, I bet if we did a poll now and asked Chelsea fans honestly, Mount out, Joao Felix in, I bet 65-70% vote yes. The top Blues wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? Proper Chelsea, they wouldn't. And the people that sound like me, but the bald ones, they'd definitely say, quick Mount, bro. Do you know what I mean? That's what they'd say. Zane here says, I don't see how Arsenal will compete for top 4. Jesus will sign, but the midfield is still with Xhaka, Partey, and they will be in the Europa. So 3 or 4 good signings are just to be in the top 6. Terry, I am a Milan fan. So I thought you were a Spurs fan with those predictions before, but Milan fan there. We'll get on to Arsenal a little bit later and come back to that. I did want to speak Joao Felix. I think the previous Super Chat brings it up nicely. Reports shared by City Extra today that Joao Felix to City is a deal that Guardiola is exploring. Ati have sort of said that they're not adverse to selling him. He is available on the transfer market at the right price. Is this player, I mean, I made a flippant comment a minute ago. Has his talent been held back by Diego Simeone's training and tactics? Or is he not quite as good as the £140 million price tag that Ati bought him for? And would he be a success at Manchester City? What we're saying?
It's so hard to say, man. And you know what? I said it the other day. Remember, I said, why would Man City let Sterling or be up for letting Sterling and who's the other guy they're looking to let go, and Gabriel Jesus go without bringing someone else in? I knew they had to have something at their sleeve. There's no way they let go 2 attacking talents and not bring in. I know they brought in Haaland and then obviously Alvarez, but they still would need more if they want to actually get better. So it now makes sense. They're looking at Joao Felix. So yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Because Diego Simeone, he's not really somebody that an attacking flair player will go to and flourish. So I'd love to see Joao Felix in the Prem. brilliant talent. Does seem like he has stagnated. He signed like a 6-year contract, didn't he? Which was insane and unheard of at the time. Yeah, I'd love to see him in the Prem, but obviously I don't want to see Man City strengthen. So anywhere else but City. But yeah, I'd love to see him come in.
I think he's like a very, very good player technically and stuff. Like he's definitely somebody that when Arsenal were lightly linked to him, I was like, ooh, that would be an amazing signing. So I'm not going to turn around and say that he's not. It's not how I do things. The only thing I would say is that like City are already so good that like, I don't know if I could be any more scared. They already bought Haaland. Like it's just extra now. But like you said, Patrick, I don't think anybody was dumb enough to think that they were going to sell some of their best players or some of their attacking players and then not bring in somebody else. It just shows the financial strength that they have. You know, they can get rid of the likes of Sterling and Jesus and reinvest into somebody like Joao Felix. He's just one of those players where I think he would thrive in Pep's system, because even when you start talking about physicality and things like that, that doesn't really mean anything to City because they keep the ball. It doesn't matter. They don't have to play the physical game with everybody else. They don't get into basketball matches with anybody else. So I would imagine he'd be good. I just wonder what that front line looks like with Alvarez, Haaland, and Joao Felix. Joao Felix is more of like a 2 up top type player or a false 9. And I would imagine Haaland would start most games through the middle. So what does that mean out on the flanks? They're getting rid of wing players, and they have a lot of center forwards now, or like players that primarily play center forward or in a 2. So it'd be interesting to see what they're doing. But yeah, it's just them just playing a different game than the rest of us.
So some breaking news for you all.
Ew, it must be Manchester United. Did you see that? Did you see the way he celebrated?
I'm very happy about this. If it's true. Let me just get it out. Sorry. David Ornstein has just said, I think Christian Eriksen may end up at Manchester United.
Oh, wow.
I mean, everyone that attacked me for putting my little green tick out there, I told you it was on, your mugs. But yeah, I'm just saying. So that's some breaking news from Mr.
I thought that was big news. I thought it was big news.
Gargantuan news. You're all scared. All scared of what we did. I'm joking. Well, yeah, so we'll touch on that a little bit later. We kind of felt that was coming, though, based on the fact that as soon as Alistair Gold was like, oh, Spurs are suddenly not interested. Nah, that's because he got rejected, bruv.
Really? Nah, I don't
Same thing
so.
with Jesus. You guys, all of a sudden, you guys weren't in it. You got rejected by Jesus too.
Yeah.
man like Jordan was sitting here and he was smiling. You ain't getting it. All the Spurs fans walk around with their big double D chest, giving it the big one, and then suddenly, we're no longer interested. Yeah, because he picked that. He might not come to Man United, but I still feel it feels like it's going that way. But sorry, back to Joao Felix. What you saying, Mina? Do you feel like you got Phil Foden that plays in that position, but also the likes of Bernardo Silva, Raheem Sterling seems to be on their way out? He'll find a place in that team for him, won't he?
Yeah, and it's just crazy to me that City are probably the only people in the world that spend 50, 60, 70 million on players for squad depth purposes. Pep Guardiola, he's clearly going after Champions League. He's not doing this to win the Premier League again. He's won it with the squad that he's had before. He's strengthened now with Haaland. Does Joao Felix fit into Pep's idea more than Diego Simeone? Yes. Do I want to see him at City? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But if they're letting Jesus go and they're letting Sterling go, then I think it makes sense for them to bring someone else in. I've even heard like rumors about Neymar potentially coming to City because he might be out of his way in PSG. So it's ridiculous what money can do for you sometimes.
Yeah, it really, really. I mean, I think he'll be a phenomenal sign. I think he, like you've said, I think he needs to go to a club that's going to play more expansive football. I think, Jess, your point was superb around they don't get into battles. Really, they just have the ball. He hasn't got to worry about that. And they're looking at the likes of Calvin Phillips. They've got Rodri. Haaland's a physical specimen. They've got physical players in that team already. Like, you don't need every player to be a battler. You don't need everyone to be like that. You know, not everybody has to have that kind of sparky. You need a handful of your players to be able to do it in the modern day game as well, where you can win the ball with a slide tackle now and still be sent off. Like, you don't kind of need that hustle and bustle anymore. But it certainly will be a brilliant signing for them, no doubt. I mean, go on, Egal.
What's City's English quota? Because they currently don't have a lot of English players in their team, do they? Am I tripping?
Well, it isn't about English quota. It's homegrown quota.
So they've got Ake, Scott Carson,
Stones.
they don't really
Walker, Stones.
Yeah, Stones,
If
Walker,
they sign
Sterling,
Calvin
if Liverpool
Phillips,
stays.
Foden.
Yeah, they've got enough. They've got enough.
No,
And
that's
what they do is they have like 16 players that they rotate through, and then everybody else is like kids from the academy, and then some of them hit the quota. They're of age. They're so smart. They're fine.
Yeah, I'm thinking, how are they going to fit all these players in?
They got Palmer as well. There's Grealish, but say fit them all in.
Oh, what about Grealish?
Pep just rotates, doesn't he? They all do fit in. They all get to play. He and that's why they stereotypically go far in all competitions. They just keep fighting. That's why they were able to win the League Cup 5 years on the bounce, because they just have such a big squad. They rotate, and the system prevails. The system is the most important part in a Pep Guardiola team. Yes, everyone relies on individual brilliance within the system, but the system generally prevails. And I think, remember when Chelsea back in like 04 to 06, they had a bench that could win the league, but you couldn't keep that bench happy because there was a main 11 and you had like a main sort of 13, 14 players that played, and everybody else just kind of sat there, not really getting a lot of game time, and it causes problems. It's just different now. And yeah, look, they're going to do bits. And I think City could be so dangerous next year. These signings all look, again, on paper, you think about all these signings and none of them you're going, maybe, maybe not. Some people don't like Calvin Phillips. I think you put Calvin Phillips in a Pep system, you're going to see a serious player. Cucurella, we know how good he's been in the Premier League. He's been excellent. And Haaland's just a cheat code. This guy, I said it before, this guy next season is going to break Mo Salah's goal scoring record. He's an absolute phenom. He's a phenom. He's a cyborg, or whatever they're called, those things. They're going to be crazy City next year. And Liverpool have got to do something to respond, though, don't you guys think? Because they've got Darwin. I know they've given James Milner a new deal, but surely with these players looking like they're going to City, if Liverpool don't dip into their wallet, how, like on a real level,
they can't compete financially. They can't financially compete with that.
That's a nice way.
Like,
I mean,
that's. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if Man City are going out and signing Haaland and your response is Darwin Núñez, I'm sorry, it's just levels, man. You can't compete with that. You just can't. Yeah. You can't compete with that.
And they spent so much on Darwin. Like, that's what they're doing for the summer. Like, I know there's still like little rumors coming out that they may look at a midfielder or something like that. But like financially, you can't compete with these guys. Like, there's just no way. And the way that they're selling their players, I mean, Jesus has a year left and it doesn't matter because financially they can afford for him to leave for free. So the price stays up. They'll get 40 for Sterling, 50 something from Arsenal for Jesus. Like, you can't compete with them. It's just too difficult. I don't think Liverpool can do anything to respond. I really don't. What can they do? Who can they sign?
You never know.
They can give Salah a contract extension. They can do that. Because realistically, what players will look at Liverpool and choose Liverpool over City, knowing that they're not going to pay the players what they probably are worth? Obviously, right now we live in a money market when it comes to salaries. City pay competitive money. United pay stupid money to players. But Liverpool are struggling to pay their best player, or arguably one of their best players under the Klopp era. And players might look at that and feel like that's not a reason to come to them. They were linked to Tchouameni. He picked Real Madrid over them. Maybe this is the downfall that we might be starting to see. I don't know. That's why.
But Terry, there's magic of Anfield and there's Klopp.
Terry, who are Liverpool linked to for the rest of the window?
But there haven't been very many links. I mean, Liverpool don't get very many links anyway. They keep things so hush. It's unbelievable. And even if links are real, their tier one shut it down straight away. They toe the party line massively. People say, "Oh, you got an agenda, Terry." I haven't got an agenda. I'm speaking facts. Liverpool are a fantastic team. They needed the quad. But everybody needs to improve each year. Darwin Núñez is an improvement on what you already had, but then Mane leads. So you've lost a player that's been clutch, that's been brilliant for you. Maybe Luis Diaz steps up to the plate, but you've gone like for like. Origi's gone, Mane's gone. You bought in Darwin Núñez, so you actually
Minamino's going, or Minamino will have
Minamino's going. You're losing space. I cannot imagine Liverpool going the rest of this summer without buying a player or two. Like, for me, I think they're playing it down. I think they're just trying to keep the noise away from the club. Yep. They can't let all those players go and sign nobody else, especially with City improving the way they are and everybody else behind Liverpool improving. I just can't see a world where FSG Allow that to happen.
Well,
Jurgen Klopp's not going to be happy for that to happen either. If they do, though, and sign nobody else, I still predict Liverpool finishing top 4 because they're brilliant. But I just don't believe they can win the league because they're already behind City. Very close, but too much for me, especially
it's got to be a midfielder, right? It has to be a midfielder.
But who?
They would have to try to go get I think the only signing that would give them that ooh and awe factor is probably Jude Bellingham. That's it.
But Jude's Jude's good, and I watch Jude a lot. But Jude's not the difference from Liverpool finishing second to Liverpool finishing first. He's not. He has the potential to be that because I think he's going to be one of the best midfielders in the world. But as of today, he's not that guy. If you want
well, how do you improve upon their midfield then? How do you improve upon it if the player's not out there?
Again, I think Frankie de Jong's a good example of doing that. Get someone who can progress the ball and move it into that final third a lot faster.
David, just get out of here. I don't need this stress.
I want Frankie de Jong at Chelsea. I hate when people are like, oh, he's so average and he's been awful at Barcelona.
No, he's nowhere near average.
Look at Barcelona. Look what he's had to deal with, and you're telling me and his numbers are still great, and you're acting like this guy's just a good football player. No, this guy is world class. And if you want someone who's going to change your team tomorrow, you go and get Frankie de Jong. He'll progress through the ball. He'll eliminate players in those spaces. I think he's a fantastic player. And if Liverpool want to compete, that's
really a shame. Manchester United are about to ruin him, right? He's such a good player.
I don't think he's going to sign because Man United are just allergic to doing good things. I think it'd be such a good thing for them to sign it, but you're just allergic to doing it. I don't know why.
You say that, and I'd love Mina's opinion on this. When it comes to United and these players, wouldn't it be beautiful to sign? How would you feel emotionally if we signed 2 or 3 players this summer, and they start well, play well, and maintain their quality or get better? How shocked would you be? Probably a better question.
I would be shocked, but that would be definitely an improvement from prior transfer windows, 100%. Even if we weren't to battle for top 4, if we brought in signings that would do good, and it depends on obviously the positions. Because if we're bringing in positions that don't really need to be filled, I feel like there's priorities when it comes to United for positions. Obviously, a centre midfielder, a DM, and I think a centre back and a right back is our priorities. But I think we're overlooking up front our problems that we have up front.
No, I agree with that. They need more in that attack. There's no doubt. The Greenwood has caused this problem, hasn't he? Because obviously they didn't expect to have that hole in the squad this year. But look, Liverpool need it. And look, I spoke to a Liverpool fan at work the other day. He's like, I'm not worried. We'll get Jude Bellingham next summer. No need to stress. And I do get that logic. But it could be another year where you don't win the league. And for me, it's hearing Liverpool fans be that accepting of it. It's almost... You're the most decorated club in England. You celebrate and dine out, and rightfully so, on the fact that you've won the most amount of trophies. Just being acceptant of not spending now so you can win another one of those trophies that you love so much. I don't believe you. I don't believe you're as relaxed or as happy as you're making out. There's toe in the party line, but I can smell it. I can smell the frustration. Dom Hassam obviously maybe goes a little bit too far sometimes, the way he calls out his club. But that's everybody's take and view and opinion. Viewers, was it Louis? Yeah, it was Louis. He literally, Louis came in the room. Me and KJ were in the studio. I said, and it wasn't like a dig. It was a genuine off-camera question. How you doing, mate? Yeah, good. Happy with Darwin. Great. What do you think? You think it's wrong to not sign any more midfielders, or are you comfortable? Yep, I'm comfortable. Bellingham next year, nothing to stress about. And then he left. But he just said it, and it's like, you're lying. I can hear it in your voice. Do you know what I mean? Squeaky voice. He just hear. He didn't really believe it. It was Louis. Viewers, make sure you're smashing that like button for us. Let's get this past 850 likes while we're live on the air. Please get that done. And we've spoken about a lot of the transfers. You're smelly United, Terry. Yeah, that's cool, bruv. It is what it is, G. I'm not. I shower twice a day. I'm good, G. Trust me. But if you say Man United is smelly, it's probably, I don't know what to say to that. Does your mum know you're on the computer? Is probably the only response I've got. If I'm being honest with the young man. Terry, coffee is too smelly. Yeah, I don't like the smell of coffee. Coffee is not a good smell, especially on breath. It's the worst.
Oh, man.
Worst. Yeah. I had a math teacher that had the worst coffee breath. He used to smoke as well. And when he come over, talk to you, it's like, sir, can you step back a bit, please? Because the breath chong. Do you know what I mean? It was terrible. I used to that word in ages. I love that word. Anyway, I digress. there's a poll currently up on the terrace right now. 63% to 37%, nearly 3,000 votes.
Jeez.
Who's going to have the better season next year? Thomas Partey or Yves Bissouma at Tottenham? North London rivals, both with two excellent midfielders. I'm not going to get into the numbers side of things because everybody gets stressed. I paid here, he's really that. Who's going to have the better season, Patrick? Bissouma or Thomas Partey?
Oh, Terry, what a gent. You let me go first. I thought you was going to let them not go first. So, yeah, thank you for that. The poll says it all, man. 3,000 votes. There's nowhere they're all Spurs fans. That's a nice mix. They're all saying Bissouma for obvious reasons. The fact that Bissouma is now moved to Tottenham, so he'll be playing alongside better quality week in and week out with a better manager as well, so he will up a level or two. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Bissouma will actually play at least 30 games a season. So for one, you actually see him on the pitch. He's just as good at Partey and everything Partey does, if not better. The Atletico Madrid version of Partey was the guy that we all fell in love with. We all love to watch. And, this version that I've seen at Arsenal, I don't know what to say, man. The guy's not been good at all. Even Partey come out himself and said, I've been a 3 out of 10, I think he said. 3 or 4 out of 10. I know I've not been great. 2 weeks later, he was injured again. So that the guy's a joke. And I'm not worried about Partey. To be fair, Bissouma will definitely have the better season. It is what it is.
My turn. Okay, so Patrick didn't say anything right there. Let's start from the beginning. He did not get injured. 2 weeks later, he played for 5 months after that, and he was one of the best midfielders in the league. Like, that's how we got into the top 4 race, was because he was basically unplayable for like 5 months. To say he did nothing is shocking. And I actually think Bissouma and Partey played the same amount of minutes last season. I think I looked that up. So it's not like Bissouma's out here playing like much more games, like playing the same amount, and all this about,
only because of other extenuating circumstances. But
okay, fair. But what I will say is that, like, you're saying that Bissouma can do everything that Thomas Partey does. He doesn't do anything similar to what Thomas Partey does. Graham Potter doesn't let him. What he does is he wins the ball and passes it to somebody who can pass. That's what he does.
Bissouma had the most tackles in the league in his position last year.
No, I know, but we're talking about, you said they do the exact same thing, or he can do the exact same thing. He's not tasked to pass through the lines or pass forward. He's in the 7th percentile for progressive passes. He basically passes sideways and backwards. Thomas Partey is in the 80th percent. No, they don't do anything similar. Now, Bissouma, amazing player. I think he's going to have a good season, but I think it's overplayed that Thomas Partey is like crap, because we wouldn't have been anywhere near the top 4 without him. He's our best player.
I wouldn't say crap, but he's not been the guy you thought you would sign in. That's what I would say. He's not crap.
Well,
He's not crap.
The only reason why he hasn't been is because he was injured, and you couldn't have foreseen it because he never got injured at Atleti. But last season, he was damn good. When he played, he was pretty freaking good, especially because he's the only reason why we were in the top 4 race.
Except when he was taking shots. Every shot was going in Rose Ed. Definitely Bissouma's got a better shot.
He had more goals. He has more goals. He had more goals than Bissouma last season.
Yeah, because he took about 100 more shots. So he should do, innit?
I mean, you're not going to get any goals from Bissouma at all.
He scored some goals. He's definitely scored some goals.
By the way, Jess, Bissouma's been in the Premier League for what? 4 seasons? You talk about Thomas Partey's injury history, but I'm not saying Bissouma has a massive injury history, but he's only played 1 season over 30 games. So this thing that he's always fit and available is not accurate. Second of all, when it comes to Bissouma and Thomas Partey, yes, you can compare them defensively and the defensive contributions. But when it comes to, as Jess said, going forward, it's 2 different players. We've done this before. You tried to compare Højbjerg to Partey. The only reason why you're comparing these players to Partey is because 1, they play for Tottenham, and 2, because Partey's the benchmark in comparison to what you guys have. He's the best midfielder out of both of our teams, and there's no debate in that.
I don't know about that. And the season before last, Højbjerg did have the better season than Partey. Even Arsenal fans came out and said that. So I don't know where you're getting this benchmark from. It's rubbish.
Partey was good. Thomas Partey had a bad season. He had a bad season last season.
So Egal saying
the season before last. The season before last. This last season, he was are you not going to recognize that?
No, he was better than Højbjerg.
Yves Bissouma is not allowed to do anything at Brighton besides win the ball back and kick it to somebody who can pass between the lines.
And if that's his job and he's brilliant at it, then that's fantastic. We don't.
But let's not act like he's all around. Don't act like he's nowhere. He can't sit at the same table as Thomas Partey.
Patrick, let me ask you a question. Let me ask a question.
He's a really good destroyer. That's it. Like
if you take Bissouma and you put him in Arsenal, does he do what Partey does for Arsenal?
Probably, yeah.
Does he do it as well? Because I know if you probably put Partey in Spurs,
I think so.
He could probably do a better job than what Bissouma would do. But do you genuinely think that?
I think so. I don't see why not.
You don't watch Thomas Partey then. He dictates play. He plays more like Rodri than anybody else.
No, I don't know about that.
You don't actually watch him. You don't actually watch him if you think that.
Let me just interject for a minute. Because the question, guys, let me interject. The question isn't can Bissouma do Thomas Partey's job? It's who's going to have the better season next year. So if Bissouma's role, like this is the thing, like this is why when people say someone's a 6 or someone's an 8, it bothers me because people there's different ways of doing the same job. Like Michael Carrick was a defensive midfielder, but he didn't play like Claude Makelele or I'm thinking of N'Golo Kante, but they played the same position. The point I'm asking is who's going to have the better and more impactful season next year for their teams? Bissouma for Spurs or Partey for Arsenal?
Simply put,
I think it's
Thomas Partey. I think Thomas Partey is going to have more of an impact for Arsenal than Bissouma is going to have for Tottenham. Sorry, not even that. Let me just change it. I think he's going to have a better season. Forget about what I just said. I think he's going to have a better season than Bissouma. When it comes to impact, that depends on the team. Obviously, he could have a massive impact for Tottenham. But when it comes to the player, themselves, without Thomas Partey, we look like a shell of ourselves. With Thomas Partey, we look like a decent side, and we just look at the points that we picked up with him. And I think Thomas Partey is probably one of the most crucial players in our cog. He undoubtedly is probably one of the best players in our team. And if he's fit and available, he will definitely have a better season. If he does get injuries, that's the only situation.
But you're saying you said all of that, and then you had a big caveat saying if it's who's going to have the better season. If Partey plays 10 games or 15 games, and then Bissouma plays.
Partey plays anywhere between 25 games and over. Boom, immediately you're going to see his impact. But if he's injured and he's coming in and out every single way, that's where you see his poor dip.
I think it's going to be Thomas Partey, But I think Bissouma is going to have a significant influence on, I think you'll see an improvement in your team instead of having like a Winks or somebody like that next to Højbjerg, if that's how you guys decide to play. But if Bissouma was out, I still think you could probably play the same. We cannot play the way that we play without Thomas Partey. And what he's asked to do is so specific that not a lot of midfielders could actually do it. It's very difficult. He's like a single point of failure, which is a weakness, but is also our strength at the same time. So I think if Thomas Partey can stay fit, I think he'll have a better season, but that's a big if. But Bissouma, let's not sit here. I'm not going to sit here and act like Bissouma's crap. The guy is mustard as well. So yeah it could be really close, but I'm always going to go with Partey. I think he's a better player.
I think Partey is the more complete midfielder than Bissouma, personally, because I feel like Partey can contribute a bit more defensively than Bissouma can contribute offensively. And I think that offensively, Partey is miles ahead of Bissouma. I think defensively, I think Bissouma is miles ahead of Partey. That's my personal view. When it comes to it,
I agree with that.
I think one thing that we're not looking at is Bissouma has Conte and Partey has Arteta. And I know that we've already seen what Partey is like in an Arteta system. However, I think that when you put Bissouma into a system that has Antonio Conte, and Conte is one of the best managers in the league, I think it is going to elevate his game just that little bit more. And I think they're already quite on the same level. So if I'm saying he goes into Conte and Conte elevates him just that bit more, I think he'll have a better season.
Yeah, I did say that. It was part of my opening speech, David. I did say that. So yeah, I agree. Well said.
It also depends on who they play with as well. Sorry, just really quick as well. If he's playing next to Xhaka, I think he'll be relatively the same. But if we were to bring in Tielemans, which I do feel like we probably will, I think that midfield flies. I really do. And I think you see a better Thomas Partey. I think he's held back by Xhaka a lot.
And the rotation.
So
if we have the rotation, do not worry about these things. That also
like I think Odegaard, Tielemans, Partey is a better midfield than whatever you're gonna have plus Højbjerg and Bissouma. Like I just think it's better.
It wouldn't be Højbjerg. It would be Bissouma, Bentancur, and then possibly that. That's it. We only play two in midfield. So Højbjerg, Bentancur.
To me, that still would be better than if
Really?
I think the systems are going to play.
Yeah.
Why are you surprised?
Because that's a very shocking comment.
What's shocking?
Your midfield is not going to be better than our midfield. Sorry.
You just mentioned two players, and we mentioned Odegaard, Thomas Partey, and Tielemans. Let's be honest.
You haven't got Tielemans yet, so I don't know why you're talking about someone that you haven't got. He might not even come.
I said if we don't, then fair enough. But
hypotheticals, we could all talk hypotheticals all day long, but you haven't got him. And
you really got triggered by that.
If we get Tielemans, it's a better midfield. Arsenal do not have and will not have a better midfield.
You know what? I'm going to back these lot because earlier when I was talking about hypotheticals, you wanted to sit there and be like, nah, can't talk about hypotheticals.
Yeah, hypotheticals. It's come back. Come on, man. We're talking about he's going to have the best season.
Falling into their own trap. Oh no! In the same show, is have hope here. What's going on? I don't know. Do you know? I think the systems are going to be a huge part in this. Like both players are quality, and listen, Bissouma is different, but I saw him go to Stamford Bridge and dominate midfield. So I've seen him go to tough grounds against brilliant teams and dominate. Equally, Partey against City at the Emirates in January. Sensation. If Gabriel hadn't had a few crazy moments and Xhaka giving away a penalty, Arsenal would have won that game, and he would have been the star. I do think Conte's system is going to be really interesting because sometimes who gets seen as the best player is often it can often be the individual that becomes the star of the show or gets a lot of accolades. And the way Conte is going to play, especially in big games, Bissouma is going to be so key in terms of breaking up play and then just moving the ball into those attackers for the counter attack. And things like match of the day will play a part in this. Sky Sports, BT Sports, and who they focus on. Does that make sense? So Arsenal, they're focusing on, if you guys are doing, both you and Spurs are doing well. And I get the feeling at Arsenal, the players like Saka, the new guys that come in this summer will be real key focuses for the pundits, for the media, for your fan base. And there's always someone who gets left behind. This happened to Liverpool with Mo Salah. Even when he was scoring all them goals, it was always Trent's and Van Dijk's and Mane's. People were always held in higher regard than him. So I do think that's going to play a part in it. I think Bissouma could end up being one of these players, especially because he costs 25 million. If he's playing brilliantly, it will be 25 million. Look how well he's done, pound for pound. I'm really excited about the kind of matchup because we all do it and it is fun. Once everyone's signings are in, we're all going to do it. Frankie de Jong will get thrown into the mix. There'll be more pressure on him because he costs so much money. Just like when we did who were the three midfielders we compared a few years back? Who was the midfielder battle between? There was three midfielders that got signed in the same summer. I know when it was strikers, it was Lacazette.
I remember the left backs. We sat here and talked about left backs, and it was Telles, Chilwell, and who was it? I
don't know the other one.
Yeah,
it was Tierney. Yeah, but I remember the strikers. You had Lacazette, Morata, and Lukaku. That went down badly for them, didn't it? I swear when Pogba signed, other clubs signed midfielders as well.
It was Pogba, Xhaka. And do you remember Mane? It was Pogba, Saka, and Mane signed in the same window. Obviously not the same position. But
no, I swear
was it not Kante as well?
I still remember that
Fred and Kante might have been it. Yeah, there was something, and I know a Man United player was involved. But look, I'm intrigued by it. It's going to be a real interesting one for me to see how it plays out. But the system's going to prevail. The one thing that's good about both your clubs, though, is you're both doing bits and working hard. There is a report that's just come out that Spurs are looking to push on with Richarlison more so than Raphinha, which is interesting. Like Arsenal fans, Jess first, you must be starting to get a little feeling of Barca can't really register any players yet. The player wants a decision. Chelsea are looking at other people. Spurs, they're kind of on the edge of it. You must feel like right now you've got this big free hit at Raphinha. That's why you guys have called your interest reportedly in Yuri Tielemans. You must be growing in confidence.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when I'm just waiting on anybody else to put in a bid, it's just odd because we're in for all the same players, but we're the only team actually putting in bids. So that would say to me that we're really serious, and maybe the other interest is maybe not as serious. If you're not putting in bids, you're not serious, especially when another team is really pushing. So I do think that, yeah, I did. You're right, Sean. Yeah. So, so I do think that, Raphinha could be somebody that will come in, but we still have to wait, be really cautious, because you just never know who will come in last minute. But if nobody else is putting in bids and Leeds are actively looking for another winger, they've already had a couple of bids, I think, rejected for Otavio. So I think we're looking pretty good, right now. I think it could happen. So yeah, and if he comes in, to Arsenal, he's the best winger in the league, like right then, just like that, as soon as he signs on the dotted line. So yeah.
He's the best winger. He's the best winger in the league.
Love it.
Look, I'll tell you this right now. Just go Richarlison going to Tottenham doesn't affect me, but
you know what's so funny about that, Egal? Sorry to cut you. That as soon as it looked like Raphinha was getting closer to us, I saw a lot of Spurs accounts saying, "Oh, well, Raphinha is so good, but Richarlison's actually the better fit for us. He's the better."
No, stop that. Stop that agenda. I will.
I got so many. Patrick, I got the bookmarks. I got them.
Because you got the bookmarks, and it's true. And I like Raphinha. I think
Spurs account.
He's a brilliant player, but Richarlison, however you say it, fits our system better. And I've been saying it from day one. Out of the two,
for 60 million.
What are you laughing at, Egal? What's so funny? Richarlison can play across the front line and can play as a number 9. Raphinha does not do what Richarlison can do. So if we have to pick one, I'm picking Richarlison all day long. Out of the two, for what we need. Let me land. Because no one can clip this because it's facts. If I'm picking 2 out of these 2, Raphinha and Richarlison, for Tottenham right now, thinking of who we play with, Son, Kane, Kulusevski, Kane could possibly get injured. You want Richarlison to come in and play as a number 9. I do not want Raphinha playing as my number 9. No chance. So I'm going for Richarlison.
My problem is
I don't want Son playing as a number 9 either.
I don't like either signings personally. I don't like Raphinha because of the price. I don't like Richarlison because of the player.
Yeah, the prices are crazy, but you've got to remember this is the market right now.
No,
you're gonna pay 60 million for Richarlison.
Well, the market is the market. If that's what they're demanding, do you think I want Raphinha for 50 or 60 either?
He'd be more worth it though. Raphinha's a better player.
Raphinha is the better player, but Richarlison suits our system.
Panic is coming in. It's just a week and a half ago, it was who's got the bigger pool. Now that Spurs and Arsenal are looking at like they're going for the same player, people are pulling out. They're like, I don't want to be in that debate anymore. I don't want to be in the debate. Raphinha is a superior player to Richarlison. In fact, he's better than Kulusevski as well. He's an improvement on what you got.
I don't know about that. Kulusevski. No.
I rate him.
Kulusevski because
I do respect him.
Kulusevski's putting up the numbers.
I said how good it was last year, but yeah. I think I think Raphinha is absolutely set. He had it was being managed by Bielsa, one of the most trash and overrated managers in Europe. You know what I mean? Man and his puffy left. Like, this guy under a competent manager he's going to be fire. Like, I'm still surprised Liverpool haven't thrown their hat into the mix yet. I'm really surprised, especially with Mo Salah not looking like he's going to get his deal.
Let me just say this. You know what, Patrick? I expected better from you because every Arsenal fan, when Bissouma got signed, we said, you know what? He's a quality player and we definitely wanted him. But for you to sit there and to say Richarlison, I get the fit part, but to say you'd rather have Richarlison over Raphinha, is it only because of the fit? Or is it because
you think you expect better from me? I'm talking as an honest football fan, and I know my club inside out. I watch my club. No, I never. I said Raphinha was better. No. Listen to what I'm saying, Egal. Before you jump, I said Raphinha is the much better player. I said that from day dot. But what I'm trying to say is Richarlison fits and suits our system better. Do you always just go out and get the best player, or do you try and get players that fit your system if you know what you're doing? So
I mean, when it comes to Arsenal, when we start talking about our systems, you're Yeah. I mean, I got cooked for saying that Tielemans and the way that we play right now is better than what we would do with Bissouma, but no, But so I get what you're saying. No, I 100%. I think you have such a valid point there. I would just say spending 60 million on Richarlison is a joke.
I know.
And
I don't want to do
way
it.
superior
But
to him.
if we,
a guy who just runs around.
yes, I get it. But I'd rather spend the money if we've got it to invest and bolster the squad than not spend it just because it's too much. Because then you're just going backwards.
Let me just jump on this quickly.
Yeah.
Raphinha doesn't want to come to Tottenham because he'd be fourth choice, even though you guys have.
How do you know he doesn't want to come? No one said if we both put in bids, that's a different story. But all this he doesn't want to come stuff. Where are you getting that from?
Had a report. David Onstein had
all over the internet that he rejected you guys. It's all over the internet.
Us. This is what Arsenal accounts put out to try.
Why do you get so triggered so easily?
I'm not getting triggered, but Arsenal fans need to stop this. If you're signing a player, sign the player. Stop putting our name to it. Oh, he's rejected Tottenham. No, he hasn't. We've not even put the bid in. How can a player reject us if you haven't put a bid in?
Like, that was what
Arsenal fans need to stop this. Just sign your players and keep it moving. Stop putting our name on your signings to try and make yourself feel better. You lot are signing all these players. You don't need to keep saying Tottenham are signing. You're getting it. Nah, stop it.
Let me bring it back for a second. Is Richarlison worth 60 million? I don't think so.
No, he's not.
Is Raphinha worth 60 million? You could argue.
No, stop it. No, he's not. No, he's not.
He's
not
worth 60 million.
Exactly. But if the market is the market, then you got to pay. It's a.
Okay, so yeah, you have to pay. The market's a market. English tax. You have to pay when English teams when you're going for another English player. I get that. So in my opinion, if Arsenal do get Raphinha and Richarlison,
Ghana, they don't. What is this? Like, where are you getting this? They got a call from.
And it's the exact same question earlier of Thomas Partey and Bissouma. If you do the same thing and you change it. I don't know what you guys are doing. Oh, okay. Gunner King. Big up Gunner King. But yeah, if you do the same thing that we did with Thomas Partey and Bissouma, and we ask who would have the better season, Richarlison or Raphinha, 10 times over is Raphinha. And I think majority of people in the poll would say the exact same thing.
That's debatable, to be fair. That's debatable.
That is because Raphinha would come in and start and Richarlison would be a bench player.
Yeah. What are you saying, Jay?
No, I was just going to ask you if Raphinha were to come to Arsenal, who would have a better season, Antony or Raphinha?
Oh, Antony at Man United, Raphinha at Arsenal. I'd probably go with Raphinha.
I want to say I was going to say Antony. I want to say, but it's just hypotheticals. It's just hypotheticals.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to base an opinion on it.
Yeah, I'd go with Raphinha just because he's a little bit older, proven in the Premier League, going into a club that's not in a. I mean, Arsenal's rebuild will be complete by the end of this summer, and there's no more excuses where this team is in its first year. So I would expect Raphinha to have that better year. And Raphinha is better than Antony right now. So yeah, I would expect Raphinha to do that. To be fair, if I'm speaking honestly, the fan in me. I've seen the clips of Antony. If that guy comes in, Antony, I didn't say it earlier, Antony actually is a stereotypical Man United signing that Fergie would have made. A young kid with the world at his feet. It's the type of player he would have signed. I'm not comparing him to Cristiano Ronaldo, but he made a lot of signings like that, Wayne Rooney's, that are young, really, really talented and skillful. I like the sound of it, but Raphinha is better than him at this moment in time, so I'd pick him. I've got some super chats to do here. I want to get through all this energy against Chelsea because you signed Vieira.
Exactly.
It's just been said there. Juan CFC says, Egal, the clip king. Can't wait till next season when Arteta has to play in the Europa and the league. Spurs only team to challenge us for third because of Conte, is what's come from Juan, who's a Chelsea fan.
Fair enough.
Brian says, can someone explain to me how going to Manchester United will jeopardize Timber's World Cup being picked? If he goes to Man United and team position, why would LVG not pick him? The point is
LVG hates United.
That's more what it is than anything, isn't it?
LVG does, but I think also I think it's pretty well. Maguire and Varane are starting the season as centre backs under Ten Hag. I think it's as clear as a nose on the end of my face. That's going to happen. I think Urian Timber and these other centre backs are being told you got to fight for your position now. If Maguire and him start well in this new system and he isn't getting the game time, LVG said you're not getting picked for the Netherlands. I kind of look at it like, listen, Timber, if you don't fancy yourself to get Maguire out the team, that guy makes a lot of mistakes, then you ain't ready yet. But I think that's the reason why, my friend. But yeah, also LVG does have a... Listen, I know he's got an issue. I sat in a hotel room with him a few weeks after he weren't there. And he was still in London. Chelsea beat us 4-0. In this hotel room in Manchester, still makes me die to this day. Every single time the goals went in when Chelsea beat us 4-0, he stood up in the middle of our meeting and cheered. He's an absolute ledge. Love the geezer. Last month, Asna fans said Bissouma is definitely an upgrade to their midfield, but since last week, AFTV said they didn't need him anyway. Asna Golden is what Blaze says.
Things change, Blaze. Things change.
Bissouma is used. What does it say here? Bissouma is used. Used to tiki-taka Brighton system, and he's going to a defensive system at Spurs. Let's see how he performs in a 70% defensive.
We are not a defensive team. Where's he getting this nonsense from? How are we a defensive team? Like,
they're the rumors.
Mental.
Imagine a front four of Cooley. Who's that meant to be? As a number 10, Raphinha on the left. Better value player system than with Richarlison. He's better than Saka and Kulusevski.
Who's he's better? So Raphinha's better than Saka and Kulusevski. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, I agree with him. I think he's right. He's better than Saka as well. Definitely.
I don't know. You know, I honestly don't know. And you know that
Saka.
I don't know. I don't know about that, and that's me. And I don't even like
Raphinha
Saka like that.
Is better than Saka.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Be careful. TPFs will be out. TPFs are coming. Egal's getting cognitive dissonance now.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I looked at the underlining numbers. It's very close. And
one's in the league. But would you say your team's better than Leeds? Better manager, better team, better players around him. Then.
I mean, Raphinha should have had like 20 assists last season. They were just. I think Raphinha he's a better winger in terms of what you want a winger to do, which is beat the man one-on-one. Saka needs to run into space. He doesn't really have the same skills. He's just not as good as Raphinha, but that doesn't mean that he's not really good. Does that make sense?
I think you're gonna tell based on the fact that Saka's gonna be moved to the left, and Raphinha, if he does come in, he's gonna be playing on the right most likely, and that's gonna show you that get the best out of the player that you.
No, I think hot take. I think the better front three might be Martinelli with Jesus and Raphinha.
You don't think Saka's gonna play at all?
No, I think he'll play, but I think he's going to have to earn his playing time.
So he can't be the best youngster in the league, then, can he?
He needs to show it.
He gets dropped quickly.
Egal, where did you get Jesse's point? Meaning he'll not play at all. Like he's not playing all season. Come on,
no. But I'm saying
organization Twitter gives you. What are you saying?
Your best. If you're saying your best front three is all Brazilian, and I was just wondering where Saka's going to be featuring. Are you saying he's going to?
He'll feature on the right.
Wing back.
He's not going to wing back. He'll feature on
wing
the
back.
right.
He might cook there.
No, I heard that's what Thomas Tuchel wanted Raphinha for. Anyways.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm going to say is that
don't put me in this bracket. I don't want Raphinha.
If Martinelli had any end product against Manchester City or Liverpool, we'd look at him totally differently. He's the one who really stepped up in those big games. I just think Saka's amazing, but he's going to have to work for his spot against Raphinha, and I think that's what the club wants.
Yeah,
I don't see them.
It'd be good for the club.
I don't think that's. I don't see an issue with it.
What you need. It's what you need. Yeah. Like competition is good when people around you start getting better. If you don't make you up your game, like I can speak.
You see that super chat from Air Ace. That's exactly what I was saying. Exactly what I was saying.
A lot of people agree with you, Pay.
There you go.
Kamal here says next winger battle: Raphinha, Arsenal, Richarlison, Tottenham, Antony, United, all right wingers. And Brazilian. I mean,
that's quite tasty.
Do you know what it'll do? It'll create this thing within the top six debate of like we'll all be waiting for the Brazilian squad to be announced. Who's in? Who's out? Who's gonna do that? You know it's gonna do that, right? 100% it's gonna do it. Spurs going for the same targets to Arsenal because for Arsenal to make Arsenal overpay for players. Jesus for 45 million. Jesus for 45 million and 70 for Raphinha. Lol. Listen, I love those fan theories, but you do realize clubs would not waste their time and money and effort building up a whole case to buy a player just to make Arsenal pay more. They might release a little story to the press, but you know how easy it is for clubs to find out if a story is real or not. They can phone players and agents really quick on the phone. This whole smokescreen thing, I don't know how it stayed alive for so long. It's utter bullshit. It doesn't exist in football. Sorry to ruin the fun, people, but smokescreens are not real. Not in a real sense. They can't go on for weeks, to get what I mean. I tip like my club bids, just add 1 cent. Okay, he's got Nashville Goodness. Back to those
Suarez
Suarez
days. Yeah, Suarez days.
Richarlison with double-digit goals and assists in 4 straight seasons isn't worth 60 million, but Raphinha is worth it after scoring 11 in just 1 season, according to Egal.
That's what you got from.
Let's be clear. Neither of them are worth 60 million.
Yeah, we both said
let's
that. We all said that.
Richarlison actually just runs around. That's his best thing. I'm not even joking. He just presses. That's it.
He doesn't even really run around. He probably, if you timed it, you'd probably see that he spends most of his time on the ground. More than actually on his feet.
He needs to stop all that if he does get a move. He needs to stop all that.
You guys will like it though. That would fit in right in with Spurs.
Oh,
stop! You guys know you like a flap.
Stop!
You guys know you like a flap.
That's part of the parcel, mate.
Jeff Peritici is not like your inexperienced Edu. He will buy Richarlison for 50. We can sell Winks for 20 to Everton. So that's 30 million bargain, is what Abby Troops has got to say. It's interesting, actually. There's some weirdo, tap in tell, this weirdo with green ticks mentioned Winks. It's funny, there's this Spurs fan who tweeted me saying you're absolutely making it up. Winks ain't involved. Ain't on his way to Everton. Tried to tweet him back yesterday. He's blocked me. Oh no. I don't make these things up. Like, who are your sources? I'm like, they sit on the show 3 times a week. Patrick couldn't handle being a United fan. Patrick couldn't handle being a United fan. We get linked to everybody. They were interested in we're interested in everybody. They said we got rejected by a player in Australia. Honestly, Ben killed me on the show yesterday. I think you guys have seen it. Have you guys seen what he said about Man United? He just basically, I'm going to paraphrase, but he basically said Ten Hag's got a bit of pull. But why would anybody in their right mind want to join Man United right now? That was his journalistic standpoint, and it was like,
jeez. But that's 100% true, though. Why would anyone in their right mind leave a team like Ajax, who just won the Dutch league, to come play for their manager in Man United? When I think 4 or 5 games into the season, if you ain't performing, your fan base are going to abuse you, whether it's at Old Trafford, whether it's online. So yeah, I agree. Why would a player come? Ten Hag does have pull, but I don't think his pull is that great, because if it was that great, he could have convinced Timber to come to United.
It's a hard place to come to. It's a hard place to come right now. I think many United fans have got to wake up and smell the coffee on that. But that's why the throw it. But equally, don't panic, because this was always going to be the case. This is why I didn't want there to be a need for a rebuild, because this is what happens when you're going into your 4th rebuild in 9 years. Each time people lose, that's like making a mistake at work. If you keep making the same mistake, you've all felt it. If you've made mistakes at work, your boss starts to lose faith in you, or there's someone in your department who keeps making mistakes. Eventually, none of you want to deal with them. Even in football, you often hear this spoken about. Players don't like passing to so-and-so because he always makes mistakes. It's the same difference. Like, and that's why if any of you finish behind us this year, you've got to you're going to get laughed at so hard, because you're all laughing at us now. You can't allow Man United to finish in front of you. It will be the most embarrassing moment in your club's histories. Arsenal preparing for the potential of losing Saka to City or Paul if they don't get top 4 next season.
As we should be, though. Like, is that a bad thing to prepare for something that might happen? Like, I don't think that's a bad thing. If you have Raphinha there, then you have more leverage. And if Saka decides to go, you already have a ready-made replacement. What are you going to get for Saka from City or Pool? 100-something million? Like, I don't see that as a bad thing. I know people are using it, but it's only bad if you have nobody else to really replace them with, I think. It's still bad, but you know what I mean.
I agree with you. And I seen your video on the leverage thing, but when it comes down to it, let's be honest. If it's between Liverpool or City, Liverpool don't have dog in this race. They can't afford Bukayo Saka. Even if he left on a free, Man City would be able to offer him much more wages. I don't think Bukayo Saka would leave right now and go to Liverpool unless they pay up on the wage portion, or they pay up on the actual side of Arsenal and give us the money that we need.
How long has Saka got left in his contract?
If I'm mistaken, a year, but then there's another year can be triggered by the club.
Okay, cool. So 2 years, cool. Yeah, you ain't got nothing to worry about.
The thing is, though, if he signs a new deal, yes. If Liverpool got the money, it's more whether they're willing to spend it. I think the wording is important there. But there we go. Listen, people, absolutely great show. Mina, brilliant debut on the Football Terrace and on the Top 6 show. Egal and Jess repping Arsenal brilliantly. Partey, a little bit triggered tonight, but maybe that's because he had to turn his fan off and he's a little bit warm. And David just being David. Viewers, I appreciate you all massively. To all of our super chatters, I cannot thank you more. To all of our 127 new subscribers during that stream, which is absolutely phenomenal. The terrace goes from strength to strength, so thank you. But until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless, and we'll see you all again very